Hey guys, how's it going? It's 10:08 p.m. on August 21st, 2017. I had to go back into the video manager and delete the video that I did earlier today, only because I didn't like what happened was I had the password showing up. So I tried to kill it. I waited like about a minute or so or whatever it was, and then I went back on again. Well, YouTube decided to splice the two together. I guess it's for in case you lose a signal or something, it doesn't split the videos up. So unfortunately I lost all that, but that's okay. I'll just let you in on what I'm doing at this point right now. No, I'm not programming, despite the fact that I know I need to. And I've come to the conclusion that I need to do it. I was gonna try to do the go with the ridiculous AI, whatever the heck it is. Now, it's not a 100% necessity, but it's here's the couple of the issues. So what I've done right now is I have frozen everything that's been running up to this point. This is all single player, and that way I'm not. I want to work on this. I want to get this all set up. I don't know if I'm. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to run any tonight or just basically get it set up at this point and not worry about it. So, but before I go there, so I've brought it over to 6 a.m. I've frozen all the train traffic. We did have some pretty cool meets. There was all kinds of neat stuff that I had going on, but basically what I want to do is I want to go through on a train-by-train basis and try to figure out exactly what basically what's on the system. Yeah, it's just going to complain about that. There's nothing I can do about it unless I relinquish everything, which I really can't do from this menu. So so it's going to complain a few times. AI is off. I've just have everything standing by, but there's still got AI in there unless I go in and relinquish everything. So that's not what I'm planning on doing at this point. So here's the negative issues that we have to contend with. The first and foremost is, of course, the ridiculous random schedule system. In fact, random, as I've been saying for some time, the random number generator is. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I've been trying to give it a shot, and it just to see what happens. And it's, you know, I could live with random if it was totally, even if it was a little bit off, but it really, the patterns are so blatantly obvious. I'll give you an example here, just to show you what exactly I'm talking about. I was running earlier today just to see what was happening, and I don't know how many trains that are on this default system from having the upgrade to Waycross, but I've already removed some of the frequencies. So you have a random, I believe, at least, don't quote me on this, I don't think it randomly chooses between trains. It first will pick a number, a random number between 1 and whatever. So in other words, it's going by this probability first and foremost where it's going to spawn. So despite the fact that one of these, like say for example, I'll give you a few different examples. Let's just say a Bolin siding. Let me do Ludwicki siding. Now there's not too many mixed freights on that one. no. For whatever reason, I gotta go in and I gotta double check all that to make sure, because I am gonna go with the TD3 data on this, despite the fact that you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna go with the TD3 data and adjust according to the TD3 data, even if it's not 100% accurate. I just want to go with it because it's a set of data that I can use. So let me find one here. Is it Bullen siding? Okay, I think this is the one. So you see this vast number of trains here. When you start seeing this, you come to the point where you have probably, I would say, I don't, if I was to hazard a guess, I would say there's about 80 symbols, 80 to 100. They're not all called every day. Just this Bullen alone, yeah, I would say, let's see, one, we got two here, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm surprised Bullen's getting so many. Hey, whoops. Just take a look at that for a minute. Bullen shouldn't be getting as many intermodal, at least not that I'm aware of, but anyways, that could be. Let's go into Lewitsky. Well, that's strange. I might have to really look into this. That's... I'm having a hard time believing that for some reason. So, let me... That's... I find that very odd. Lewitsky, or whatever you want to pronounce it, is basically the main Nahanta sub. So we know a lot comes out of there. Considering the fact that a lot of the manifests also come out of here as well, because they head down. Anything that goes to New York should be coming through here. This is where they head off. The intermodals and anything bound from Florida direct, including the passenger traffic, would go the other way. I don't think the passengers are in. No, all the passengers are shut down by the looks of it. Looks like they've been removed, which is, I guess that's interesting. So the Taft launch pad, no, they don't even have the passengers. Huh, okay. Well, there's a lot of updates that need to be done, unfortunately. The question is, how much am I going to fix the AI schedules, or am I just going to go ahead and build RTS 2? Yeah, I'm really starting to wonder about that one now, because originally I thought, well, that's one of the issues, okay? The other issue, of course, really comes into how a train will spawn the traffic. For example, there's 4 trains that are sitting in the race yard right now, and all of them are your local trains. As far as they have basically local designations, the majority of them are going to go to Florida. None of them have bridge traffic. Now, one thing I was on earlier today was I was on the RTS Florida server. And they do have bridge traffic set up in amongst these trains. I imagine in order to get that, they probably faked the industries. The issue that comes with faking an industry basically becomes the same issue you're going to have with logistics, and that is, if you fake a bridge connection, you could get away with it for one location, but you're not going to get away with it for all. In other words, if all you were doing was just basically trying to mix up, say for example, I'll give a pretty good example here and see if this one sticks. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, we are going to have 6 trains coming from one of the locations. What you could do, because it's coming from a particular location, is you can set up bridge traffic that goes everywhere else for those 6 trains only, which also means that they will be your local supplies. So coming from one direction, you could have, in theory, all your supplies coming in, although it wouldn't be realistic per se. You would have all your locals coming in, plus you would be able to have all your bridge traffic going to other locations. So that's possible. And then the others, of course, would just be tags. The issue that comes up with the way it assigns cars is, once again, you're at the mercy of the random number generator, and there's some other, I can't even put my finger on it, bizarre ways in which, if you start getting into too many way bills, it starts either cutting off some, or it's just bizarre. I don't know, there's no formula that's ever given onto how everything works. Now, I understand the whole industry thing, fills the industries, blah blah blah, I get that. But at some point there's a formula. At some point there's a rule. What happens when you have too many industries? What happens when you don't have enough? So at some point there is a rule that it has to follow, and this is more from a programmer's frame of mind. At some point it has to follow that rule. That rule, I don't know what that is. I've done experiments in the past. I've never really had a grip on how it 100% you could predict what the system's going to do, or how you can play the system to get it to do what you really want it to do. So you're basically at the mercy of whatever the system is, and adjusting, because the random numbers are screwed up, it'll end up picking certain ones in patterns. And this is what I was talking about with the not just the way bills, but when I'm talking about this, you have, say for example, the TAF, you saw one had like 8-10 trains on it. You look at the TAF launch pad, you can see there's only 2 types. It's got a Q170 and a Q178. Now, you've seen all the trains that I have in here. Q170 and Q178 were the dominant trains. There was a total of 5 in all, in what was probably spawned in a period of about 2 hours. Whereas there was nothing coming out of Ludwitsky. There was nothing coming out of anything out of Waycross, for that matter. So it was actually a misrepresentation of the total numbers. It was more based, I guess, on this probability number. I suppose the probability has to go up because there's higher numbers, perhaps. Maybe this is just too simplified. I don't know. But even when this is set to a proper ratio of how many trains there actually is, because really what this is a more simplified, here it is, go at it, and it's just picking a random number and assigning it because they're all at the first hash mark here. So it's even, like I said, I've gone through the trouble before, and I could go through the trouble again to find out what the percentage is, and I can adjust all the trains. And I mean, that'd be great and all, but ultimately I want trains that are being called at realistic values. So here's the TD3, and this is what I consider to be the this is by far a more dominant dispatch system than external dispatcher or the Run 8 system. I would probably say it's very similar to what TSCAD is. The exception, I guess, being that this is a free program, I suppose, but it has no connection right now. I'd like to change that, but we'll see. But I would say TSCAD probably has a few extra advanced options that even this won't have. But for the most part, this I can dispatch this exactly the way I want to. Because when you're talking about, I'll give you an example. I know often two trains aren't meeting, you know, and it's basically you're setting up. So okay, so you know, for example, you got one train is coming in here, and you got one train going into here. Well, the way the what do you call it, external dispatcher does it is you have trigger points where once it hits something, then it'll attempt to do something else. The way it really works, if you want to do this running meet, this guy right here simply goes down, you add a stack, and it goes yellow, and the number 1 shows up. Likewise, you do the same thing. You add a stack, you put the reverse signal there. I didn't like that. Why didn't it like that? Add stack command. A route cannot be established. There is a switch between. Oh, I see. There's okay. Because there's a switch in between, I gotta go here. So I'll go here to there. There we go. Usually a backwards doesn't, but because the switch was there, it didn't like it. But so there it is. And everything works on the control point. So once this train clears the control point, this one goes. Once this train clears the control point here, that one goes. And you can, I mean, I like the canceling options a lot better in TSCAD, that's for sure. So I mean, TSCAD is definitely going to have a really good system, I think. So going into a place like Folkestone, you may have, what happens is a lot of people, like if there's a bunch of trains that are following you, that they'll end up fleeting the signals. So that's what it looks like as a fleet in TD3. Now, I'm not a huge fan of fleeting signals unless it's so busy that it's not worth taking the time to do it, and then you know you have a constant flow. Then yeah, okay, you can do it, but at some point, especially where the fleets end, let's just say, for example, we do have a fleet set up for these guys here, and let's say, for example, we do have a fleet set up for everything heading out. Now for Folkestone, let's just say I know the first train that I want to get is going to head that way, so I can set up my switches. This is the first train that's going to, let's pretend there's a train here. That's going to be the first train that heads out, and then after that I have second trains, one following. So I got one to go here, and I have one to go here. But then there's another train that's going to be following and crossing over. So now I add an additional stack over to here. And what happens as you can see, there's a number 2 there. It will do that first, then it will revert the switches to allow these to happen. Then once that happens, this then goes and does that. You cannot do that in an external dispatcher. There's just no way. In fact, it's very difficult to do the way they do the fleets, or whatever the heck it is. The way they actually do the fleets is they have a right mouse click on it where you can drop it after so many. The equivalence of that is you can go like this. I don't know if you can do, I forget if you can do all the way from one to another. No, you can't. Okay. So you can't. That's one advantage of external dispatcher is you're able. So see, I don't even have to do a stack, but what I could do is for this one, instead of a fleet, what I'm doing is I'm setting up 2. So I'm setting up 2 here. In fact, let's set up a 3rd one. We'll set up a 3rd. Now you might be looking at this and saying, well, why wouldn't you fleet it? There's times where you want to be in more control because you're not too sure whether or not you're going to make a crossover. So instead of fleeting, you just give so much time. So in this case, again, I'm going to stack 3 over here. So we know we got 3 northbounds, right? And again, we'll start off with that one. We'll put 1 here. That's going to go that way. I screwed that up. So we're going to have 1 that goes that way. The second one is going to go this way. And once those go, then the 3rd one will go that way. And that will work just like that. So you see the number 2 still, you can tell by looking at it. I don't know why I have, okay, I have 3. Let me see that. Does it go to 2? No, it goes to 1, so I got 1 too many, but anyways. Then say if I got 1 too many, I can delete a stack. I can delete a stack. Now we're down to 3. So you got your clearance plus your 2 stacks, and the numbers will stay this. It will give you an idea as trains go by. The numbers will drop down to 1, and it works out pretty good. So, anyways, I know. You see what happened right there? I turned it off. That was like canceling the signal, and then suddenly the stack underneath went. So watch this. If I turn that off, and then I turn that off, there. See? Now it does that one. That's exactly how it cancels. Yeah, I can go like this. Cancels, cancels, cancels. I'm just clicking them. I'm canceling the signals. You can delete the stacks, but this is also the same way. And there's the last train goes through here. He's going there, and then that's it. So it's really that simple. Conflicting routes do not happen. If I try to do a conflicting route, for example, it knows. It knows, wait a minute, you got something set up to go the other way. It will not allow it. You know, anywhere you try to do a conflicting route in between singles, it's single track sections. So you don't have these goofy meets in the middle. So yeah, it knows. But yeah, I have to. The other cool thing about how this works, and you can see I've got it started. There's a midnight. I think, what am I on, a Monday here? So I can go sort by time, and I can look at 10 after. Well, 10 after says something's going to come in at 1. Now that's the schedule. Okay, where's 12? Let's see. They're all based on, okay, so 12's over here. So according to this, the first one that comes out is at 10 after. Let me start this.
Train stopped, awaiting signal.
Okay, now I'll stop it. Oh, he doesn't run on a Monday. Or does he? Yes, he does. Well, I'm not too sure where he is. Unless he's already out there, but... Oh, that's A3. A3 to 12, I'm sorry. Okay. So A3 is down here. If I right mouse click on this, notice, so there is random built into it. So you notice Q393 shows an entrance time at 10 after. Well, here we see you can click on an entrance point and you can see what the next trains are. And the next train to come out of there is at 1:47. This is gold, knowing this. Number one, you also have the train sheet. So if you hit trains, you can see everything that's coming up. Despite the fact that there's a 10-minute after schedule, I can see everything for this day up to I believe it's the next 8 hours of calls. So I can basically schedule a shift from here, and I can see that H4 is going to have an ETA 24, 37, 39, 49. So yeah, and you know it's going to be busy throughout the morning, and then you know it's going to pretty much stay that way. But by looking at this, I can see here's a little bit of a lull between 1 o'clock and 1:47, and then there's probably not another one. It looks pretty busy throughout the middle of the night. There's a 17 to 51 lull. There's a 4 to 5:07. So there are some groupings of lulls in there, but for the most part, it just keeps going. And that's what I like about the scheduling system. There's random lateness factors built into all the train types, so that you know it will decide how late it's going to be, etc. So now I'm hoping to have something like that into RTS. I don't know if I'm going to have it right away. I don't know what that is. Okay, that's fine. Good enough. What is that? Yeah, okay, whatever. Remind me later. Yeah, remind me in... No. Remind me about an hour after I'm in bed. All that. Okay. Thank you. I don't know what the hell's... What is it doing? I don't know what this garbage is, but it's really annoying me. Not only this computer. I just had the old RTS server crap out on me. That's my son's computer now, but it's the newest one, and he had to go to a system restore. But so far, knock on wood, I've been lucky, but I really should back up everything. Okay, assuming everything else is okay. Looking good. Probably had some clouds in here or something. I don't know. But yeah, there's I was also looking at the schedule. There's plenty of room for other locals that do come out of here that aren't in the list. I was gonna spend the time and go through the locals, but I'm really, or go through the actual trains and match them up, and I really want to. But at this point, I'm thinking to myself that I would probably much rather try my best to get some work done. It isn't going to happen tonight because I'm actually tired, and I actually might call it the night fairly shortly. But there's definitely a lot of potential with Florida. I like it. The way I see it is, and the reason why I wanted to try this was I wanted to basically play the role of of dispatcher and Waycross yardmaster. See how it goes. See how the trains, like, let me just see this for a second here. Just get an idea of as to what's coming in and out of Waycross, for example. And I've done this before. Now, this guy here, he's headed into Waycross. So he's gonna exit or come into Waycross. So he's definitely coming. If I was to do A1s on the main line, see, that's interesting because it's also showing that most of the freights are coming off of is it? Okay, well, let me see A3. Oh, okay, there we go. So now we see. So A3 is also, I don't know if I actually checked into that. I should have. But yeah, you got the, oh, I see. So Hamlet is the S line. You got the A line to Florence and the S line to Hamlet. I may have to look into that because, hold on a second here. I did have Hamlet in there. Where the hell did I see it? Q492, Waycross to Hamlet. Hamlet to Waycross is A1. Q491. What the hell? But I see a Q693. Okay, I gotta check something out now. Okay, so Q693, which is Irwin to Waycross, is interesting. Let me just see. A312, 21 to 72. I don't know why I had 21 as if that's where it was coming from. That's kind of weird. 693. Let me see this schedule for a minute. So I sorted it by ID. Why didn't I get it the first time I went through there? Well, that's interesting. I certainly see A3, but I don't know why I didn't, because there I have it as 21. Well, whatever. I'll have to double check all that data again anyways, but, yeah, so you've got, it's got a track car, which is not a big deal. Passengers coming from Hamlet, I guess. Doesn't matter whether it's Florence or Hamlet at this point because this part's not modeled. So, basically, what's happening is this section here at Savannah, it comes down to the yard area and then it comes back up at Burroughs, and it eventually leads to North Ludowici. This one here, it's really convoluted or whatever the heck you want to call it. Okay, so that goes to Callahan. Oh, I see. That's the going to Baldwin. Now I get it. I was looking at this diamond. I was like, what the hell is this diamond? I was like, oh, yeah, the Brunswick sub, but that has nothing to do with it. That's its own. That's just NS, which is a model. I was looking at what's Crawford, and it's like 4-acre, all that other stuff. That's the Callahan sub that's coming off of here. Those are, I guess you call, I guess you call major junctions. I don't know, or they lead to something else. Maybe I'm not too sure why they're blue, but anyways. So yeah, you've pretty much got everything that you know what's kind of so. For example, heading north out of Rice Yard, you have you only got 5 trains all morning. A couple of them are locals, not a big deal. And then heading south, which is kind of weird because that thing is deceiving. It is heading south, but it's, you know, technically it is heading south. It's true, but from what I could see, everything is heading up that way because there's a Y connection there, so it's really weird. But and the Y is not shown. They don't have the actual Y, so this is a little bit different. But yeah, so there's another 5 trains going in the opposite. So 10 trains altogether. A few of them are locals. There's a second section of 457. All that. If you look at what's coming out of Baldwin, you know, there's 4 trains. But then you start seeing. I can't see so much the intermodal trains. I don't see any. Not too many, anyways. There's a Q125 coming out of Hamlet, but really there's not that much, which is kind of interesting. Just trying to think if there's any other yards that could come out of, but excuse me, tired. So coming out of Jacksonville, for example, again, you know, you got 5 trains called in for an 8-hour period, so it's not too bad. Crawford we already have set up as an exit. I've already done those ones. Brunswick sub, nothing because it's going there. How about the Fitzgerald sub? That's the other one. Fitzgerald also has 5 trains. That's got a few intermodal trains, which is very interesting to see exactly where those intermodals are coming out of, because it's interesting. I find it interesting actually that it's actually those are all there's 2 Jacksonville trains in there, but it's coming out of the Fitzgerald sub, which is certainly possible. They definitely intermodal trains do come down and take the Jessup sub. It's just kind of weird. We got this guy here. So man, I woke up a little early today, so I'm paying for it now. I'm just trying to think if there's any other ones here. R4, R1, that's not going to really tell you anything. No. R2's the connector, I guess. I'm just looking to see if anything's coming out of those yards. Oh, there's a couple trains. There's a track car, and then there's a local set to come out at 9:07. So again, that's delayed because of the whatever. So he's heading to H2, which takes you all the way to, where does that take you to? It should be somewhere around here. Oh, okay, that's the Riceboro branch, so Riceboro local or whatever it's called. So yeah, that's that's the kind of thing that you want. You want perhaps a predictable source of trains, and if you go to the random train parameters, for example, well, you can see a lot of this is set up for 100%, which is really interesting. I don't necessarily. That's a late arrival, which basically means it just totally randomizes it, with the exception of the passengers, which are set at 10% delays. Um, it's basically saying, oh yeah, the intermodals, the freights. I don't know if that's just some saved feature, but I wouldn't go that far, because I think you want to have the trains that are basically set up a little bit better for that. So they're gonna come in at a more familiar train time, but they could be delayed, is the thing, and they could be delayed by quite a bit if they're set up to be allowed. And that was what I thought I saw was going to happen with Run 8 version 2 while it was still in development, and got that screenshot, but it didn't happen that way, unfortunately. But where RTS 2 will step into this, and this is where I have to get disciplined enough to, as much as I want to play and enjoy this, I have to get disciplined enough. I'm not doing it tonight because I'm dead tired, and my whole night was split between a little bit of real world stuff, not, and dealing with that, or wanting to see what was going on. My son had his last soccer game, so that kind of split everything up. Come Wednesday, things should free up a little bit if I have a plan. But I've been saying that for about a week or so now, and it hasn't happened, so I don't know yet. I'm not going to put a timestamp on anything. I'm just going to play it as is, try not to put too much pressure on myself, dig at it a little bit at a time and see what happens. And hopefully I'll make enough progress that'll inspire me to keep up the momentum. One thing that I have mentioned, that I'm going to mention again, the way I'm looking at it right now is I may try to take the YouTube off while I'm doing the programming, just because even though it seems to be somewhat popular, at least I'm getting a lot of thumbs up for it, not so much views. It seems, and I understand it's popular, but at the same time, I have to be motivated to do this, and the only thing I could think of that would motivate me a little bit more is to put on a music, and not worry about entertaining the YouTube audience, but concentrate on the task at hand. I think is probably a lot better. It was good to try it, but I don't think it's that necessary or educational or whatever that, all I can say is I'd help anybody who wants to learn that stuff, but I will show off some of the features as we go along. I'll do some testing at some point, which I will YouTube, and you guys will be able to see everything in a testing phase. So that's certainly down the road, but as far as the actual coding goes, I think I'm going to leave that alone. As far as YouTube exposure goes moving forward, and I'll just see if that helps. No promises, and we'll see what happens. But anyways, I don't know how I got on the TD3 stuff, but I did. But that was just kind of showing you what I would what I would call a good environment to have a proper number of trains and everything. And then of course the way bills, that's a totally different beast, because you want to have a nice little flow for the way bills. And one thing I will say before I end this, and I am dead tired, so I'm not going to be too long here, but these trains that are coming in, I mentioned before that the one way you could do it is have it come in from one direction. Ideally, what's really happening is you probably wouldn't get any locals coming out of Florida. you would have pretty much all bridge traffic coming out of Florida, with the odd exception of maybe some locals near um, closer to this yard that are serviced by a different local train. But anything that's coming in to the Florida area would have a varying percentage of both bridge traffic and local traffic on it, depending upon how much. There is usually at least one big train that heads down south to Florida. Since that's what most of the industries are and the locals, then that's what I have to look at. I'm also going to look at how Tom has been able to vary the amount of locals, and not serve every industry every day type thing, and do a little bit of frequency. I may do something different with frequencies in this. I haven't decided exactly how I want to do that yet. To start things out, I'll probably try to keep it as backwards as compatible as possible, and then that way you can put the frequencies you had before, or the way you used to have it before, with some minor adjustments. But I'm certainly got automation in mind. I've got all kinds of different things that is going to help both the single player and the small server. That's the key. That's basically ideally what I want to get done. How long it's going to take, I don't know. It's going to be a matter of discipline, and quite frankly, it's going to be more than just discipline. It's going to be I got to be motivated, and right now I'm not motivated to program enough as I need to be. So I don't know. Wish me luck. See if I get the motivation, and see what happens, I guess. But anyways, for now, that's about it. I've yapped long enough. So hopefully that helped explain things, and that kind of catches up what I was doing or what I was thinking or talking about today. For those of you that basically saw this again, a lot of this was pretty much a repeat, with the exception of some of the other commentary. But anyways, I'll be on tomorrow night, the usual, covering California dispatch on the West End. I should be on, I'm thinking, by about 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you there, and have a good night. Talk to you later.